Photography is an amazing journey, but starting out can feel overwhelming, and even seasoned photographers often learn things the hard way. In today's video, I'll share some key advice I've picked up over the years. These lessons can make your photography journey a bit more smooth. Let's get into it. First advice is shoot it now. Even when you're doing still life, cityscape or landscape photography, where you feel like what you want to photograph will stay the same forever, you need to take a photo of it right away. I have multiple instances where I took the cityscape or still life photo right away, and later on they went under construction or moved places and completely changed how it looked. First is one of my favorite photos. I took a photo of this reflection of a convenience store after a heavy rain. Ever since then, I'd never seen that kind of puddle there to reflect the store sign. And there was always some car parked in the space where the chair is. The chair was there to prevent anyone from parking in that spot, but I'd never seen that chair there again. And shortly after, the convenience store redesigned their sign so it wasn't so photogenic anymore. Next is this photo. They had orange streetlights in this fog. It created such a cool mood. Later on, after I started YouTube, I wanted to recreate it to show you. And I found out that they have changed the streetlights to pure white. So it wasn't so photogenic anymore, and I doubt I will return there again. Last one is this photo of a church, also one of my favorite night shots. I saw this church on my way back home from a family dinner, so I went to photograph it that same night. Same story. After a while, I wanted to recreate it for YouTube, and I found out that they have moved buildings, and their cross was not red anymore, it was white and much smaller. I was really disappointed with this as well. So the decisive moment is not only for street photography, it applies to all genres of photography. If you see something you like, you need to grab your camera and photograph it on that same day. Next is lower your expectations and enjoy the process. As photographers, we share the same goal of capturing that perfect shot. However, good photos are really hard to come by. It's a long process filled with experimentation, trial and error. So if you're only driven by the end result, it can quickly tire you out. So you have to enjoy the journey and its process. If you go to photo exhibitions or look at photos of pro photographers, many of them only produce maybe 6 to 12 good images a year. I know successful photographers who still does exhibitions and sells prints and books from work they produced years ago, without producing memorable recent work. Does this mean that they haven't taken any photos in these recent years? No, it just means that they haven't had photos that are worthy of exhibitions, prints, or books. And when you go to an exhibition, not all of the photos on the wall are home run shots. Some of them are there to help tell the whole story, like a supporting cast. And when I come out of exhibitions, I only buy 6 postcards max. So to me, only 6 postcards out of at least 30 postcards were good enough to buy and take home with me. So even a pro photographer's hit rate is very low. This goes for even portrait photographers who get to manipulate and create compositions to their likings. So don't be always chasing the end result or the home run shots. Enjoy seeing yourself grow. Experiment with new compositions and genres. They are all part of the journey. Your photos don't always need to be so photogenic because another aspect of photography is documenting life moments, which could translate into nostalgia later down the road. So if a photo doesn't turn out well, you can at least cherish some moments with it. Next is take your camera everywhere. I can't emphasize this enough. Take your camera everywhere. Even if it feels inconvenient or unnecessary, bring it along, just make it your habit. You never know when a great photo opportunity will come up, and those unexpected moments often turn into the shots you cherish the most. The best photo opportunities don't always happen when you're intentionally out shooting. Sometimes it's during random errands, commuting, or casual walks when you suddenly see that scene. Without your camera, all you will have is a mental image of it and a huge regret. I've learned this the hard way. There has been so many times when I left my camera at home thinking nothing interesting is going to happen today, only to come across a scene that I wish I had captured. and some of those still haunt me to this day. Also, carrying a camera keeps you in a photographer's mindset. When you have it with you, you naturally stay more observant. You notice compositions, light patterns, textures, and potential shots even if you're not actively shooting. And the more you practice seeing, the better your photography gets. And taking your camera everywhere helps you document your life. In Korea, we have a popular saying that goes, "All that's left are photos," meaning our memories might fade, but photos last forever. These personal photos may not feel special now, but years later they become irreplaceable. You'll look back and be glad that you documented not just the highlights, but the everyday moments too. Next, embrace bad photos and avoid perfectionism. Not every photo you take will be a masterpiece, and that is perfectly okay, and that is perfectly normal. Some of your most valuable lessons will come from your worst shots. Embrace those bad photos as stepping stones toward improvement. And bad photos aren't always bad. Not because they teach us lessons, but more because taking bad photos, breaking the rules, and stepping outside the box gets you experimenting and helps you find your creative voice. They are often more memorable than nice photos that follow all the obvious rules. Perfectionism can paralyze creativity, making you hesitant to take risks or even press the shutter. Instead, focus on experimenting and learning from each mistake. Over time, you will discover that progress matters far more than perfection. Remember that even the best photographers started with taking bad photos, but they just kept shooting, learning, and growing. Let go of the pressure to be perfect, and you'll find more joy and freedom in your photography journey. Next is explore different genres. Even if you have little interest in other genres, people change and your tastes change. Mine certainly did. You might think portrait photos are boring now, but later down the road, you might think portrait is the best genre in photography. So it is good to explore new genres and keep shooting because you might regret only shooting street photos or the genre of your choice. I often look back at my street photos taken during my vacation and regret that I only stuck with shooting street photography and moved away from normal travel or cityscape photography. I confined myself too strictly to one genre. Those are moments you can't have back, so extend your field of interest and shoot everything. And you can't always draw inspirations from the same genre or medium. There will come a time where you draw inspirations from other genres of photography or movies, for example. So widening your field of interest will help you grow as a photographer. Next is print your work. There's just something magical about seeing your photos come to life in print form. It is a tangible way to appreciate your own progress and the effort you've put into your craft. Unlike viewing on a screen, printing reveals a finer detail, strength, and even flaws in your own work, helping you grow as a photographer. If you leave your prints out in the open, you don't need to make an effort to see it like you do with your phone or computer. And I found that being exposed to your own work gives you some motivation. Whether it's being proud of your own work and wanting to repeat the same success, or wanting to fill the wall, or wanting to get better. Prints also allow you to curate your best shots, giving you a sense of accomplishment and pride. Whether you hang them on the wall or give them to someone or create a photo book, printed photographs hold lasting value that digital files just can't replicate. So print your photos and give it the respect that it deserves. Next, light is everything. Boy, it took me a while to really understand this. Because I started out with run and gun style street photography, I was all about catching the right moment. So I neglected paying attention to light for a long time, longer than I care to admit. Light is the foundation of every photograph. That's all we're doing, freezing light. Without understanding light, even the most expensive camera won't save your shots. Pay attention to how light falls on your subject, whether it's the soft glow of golden hour or dramatic contrast of harsh midday sunlight. Use it to express the feeling you want to convey. Learn how light interacts with shadows and highlights to create depth, mood, and interest. Observe natural light at different times of day and experiment with how it transforms your photos. Even the simplest subjects can be elevated into stunning images in good light. Next, learn to break the rules. Mastering photography rules is just the start. Breaking them intentionally is where creativity begins. Photography rules are often taught as guidelines like the rule of thirds or leading lines. These principles are valuable and essential for building a strong foundation. They help photographers understand composition, balance, and technical precision. However, creativity lies beyond these rules. Once you've learned and applied them, you have the freedom to break them intentionally. Breaking the rules doesn't mean being careless or ignoring the fundamentals. It's about making deliberate choices to achieve something unique. Shooting into harsh light, motion blur, not keeping horizons straight, the list goes on. Great photography isn't just about what looks correct, it's about what feels impactful and memorable. Next, background blur isn't always better. While background blur or bokeh is often seen as a sign of professional photography, it's not always the best choice for every image. Sharp, detailed backgrounds can add depth and context to your image. In street photography, showing the surroundings can add depth and meaning, and it gives the viewers a full picture of the scene, so don't always shoot wide open. Next is do not erase all your bad work. Tastes change and you evolve. What might look like a good photo today might feel dated tomorrow, and vice versa. As you get deeper into photography, your post-editing skills will evolve and you might be able to save a photo in post. And doing simple things like cropping can really change the look of a photo and revive it. So don't overlook the initial bad photo. Just keep them in your books and return to it later. If you still hate them after years, then maybe pass on them, but don't be so quick to delete it. And it can remind you what not to do next time when you're out shooting. And not shooting those same bad photos will make you shoot better photos. Speaking of saving photos in post, do not underestimate or skip post-editing. Post-editing is sometimes misunderstood as cheating, but I think it's an essential part of the creative process in photography. Post-processing allows photographers to bring their vision to life. Straight out of camera images rarely reflect the full potential of a scene. Editing enhances colors, corrects exposures, and emphasizes the story or mood you want to show. However, you should also know that editing isn't about transforming a bad photo into a good photo. It's about making good photos great. Composition, light, and technique are still crucial. But dismissing post-processing means leaving untapped potential in your work. There are so many great tutorials on YouTube on how to edit photos. If you like a certain YouTube photographer, go to their page and search for Lightroom tutorials and watch them. Watch several different photographers' tutorials and see which one works for you. This is your step from taking photos to making photos. Next is get to know your camera. If you search on YouTube, you can find how to set up your camera. Experiment with it and fine-tune it to your needs. Also learn and understand ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, known as the exposure triangle. And make sure you can use it in practice. For example, opening up your aperture to have that blurry background, or having a fast shutter speed to freeze motion, and bumping up the exposure when the shooting conditions are dark. Also, you need to understand your camera's limitations. For example, I found that 12,800 ISO is the highest ISO I will use on my camera before the photos get too noisy for my likings. Physical custom buttons can be set like back button focus or exposure lock. And some cameras can be handheld for really slow shutter speeds because they have in-body image stabilization. So understand and get familiar with your camera because the camera you're the most comfortable using is the best camera. Next, don't let social media dictate how you shoot. I was hesitant to include this one because Instagram isn't the photo sharing platform that it used to be. So my points might make less sense or matter less. But I included it anyways because it is something that did affect me in my own journey. It is cool to share with other like-minded photographers on the internet. And by sharing, I actually made some real-life photography friends that I meet and talk with. So social media is not all toxic. Post your photos for the first time and get likes, you feel like you're validated. But it is dangerous to lean into this too much. How people consume photography on Instagram is just different. It is a scroll after a split second. To grab attention, you need a very in-your-face and easy-to-understand subject, which is more widely accepted or liked by the general public. And those general public people might not be really into photography like you are. I found that when you spend too much time or care too much about likes, it gets you to shoot differently. Later down the road, you might regret going down this path. It could be something like always shooting vertical to post on Instagram, or leaning more into other genre or style of photography that might get more likes, even though that is not a style that you like. You need to stay true to yourself and shoot for yourself. What good is a photo if it is liked by many people but you don't really like it at all, but that is all you're posting because you want to get likes? You can't truly know what others might like, you only know what you like, so lean more into that voice. Next is buy used gear. Buying new cameras, lenses, and tripods will really hurt your pocket. And when you have to sell those gears, you will lose a lot of money. But buying used gear will save you a ton of money, and when you have to sell those gears, you will get a large sum of your money back. More importantly, cameras from almost 10 years ago are still very usable in terms of their image quality. I have a Fujifilm X Pro 2 which is close to 9 years old, and Sony RX1 which is 12 years old. Their image quality is not outdated at all. They are still more than enough for modern day shooting. Same goes for tripods or lenses, which usually ages better than cameras. Meaning, at least in Korea, they depreciate a lot slower than cameras. I have multiple instances where I bought a used lens for a certain price and sold it years later for the same price. And I found that I am genuinely less careful and use cameras as the tools that they are when I buy them used. They already have some scratches from years of usage, so I don't baby them. But when I buy a gear brand new, I find myself babying it a bit too much, which I don't like. Next, portability is king. I made the mistake of getting a Fujifilm X100T as my first ever camera. I say this was a mistake only because this camera was too big and heavy for me to carry all the time. Photography was yet to be my hobby at this point, so it just felt like a burden to carry it. So I only used it as a travel camera once a year and later sold it for a cheap price. I think a camera with less than half the price could have done the same job. So if you're like me, then maybe it is better to get a simple point and shoot with better portability. If you're first starting out, portability matters a lot. Some portable camera options that come to mind is the Ricoh GR series, Canon G7X series, Sony RX100 series, and Micro Four Thirds cameras that are small. Compare prices and watch reviews and think hard about what fits you best. If I could do it all over again from the beginning, knowing what I know now, I think I would have gotten the Sony RX100 series because they are very small and have great video capabilities with long zoom lens. So this is all I have for today. Is there any advice that you would give to a beginner photographer? Or did any particular advice that I give resonate with you? Please let me know in the comment section. And if this video helped you out in any way, then please like and subscribe to my channel because it really helps out small channels like mine by pushing my content out to more viewers. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.